I was staying at my cousin's house in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't go there much, so of course I was a bit unnerved. Her house wasn't in the best area, and the neighborhood in general was quite creepy. All the houses were old and barren. When you looked at the windows, you could almost imagine some little ghost girl staring back at you. Anyways, the room I was assigned to sleep in was almost empty and barely had any furniture except for a bed and a full-body glass mirror against the wall. The room itself was lifeless and plain, so I didn't look forward to sleeping in it. Thankfully, I spent the whole day in Milwaukee with my cousin's family. By the time we got back, it was already dark, so we all just went straight to bed. Since I was exhausted from walking around in the city all day, I fell asleep quite quickly. But I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night, sweating and breathing harshly. As I laid in bed, an uneasy feeling came over me. My stomach was twisting and I felt like puking. For some reason, I was getting scared. It didn't help that the room itself was creepy. The only source of light was from the moon shining through the window. There were no blinds or curtains, so it was easy to see the light. I turned my head to the right to get more comfortable. This way, I was facing the mirror. At first, I didn't notice it, but then I finally saw it. In the mirror, it reflected the bottom of the bed. In the reflection, I could see a pale white face emerging. Its long, slender arms reaching out ready to crawl. The eyes of the monstrous creature were two empty holes. Even if there was nothing there, I could feel its gaze paralyzing me. Its pale white lips curved up into a wide smile, so wide the corners reached its ears. I could only stare in horror, and the creature crawled out from under the bed, its white body jerking and shaking with its movements. I wasn't ready to die yet. I wasn't even married at the time. I opened my mouth and let out the loudest scream I could, waking up the whole house. Suddenly, the mirror cracked and broke into a million pieces, like little crystals being shattered into the air. I closed my eyes and raised my arms to shield myself. My cousin and her husband then ran into the room, asking what was wrong. I couldn't say much. I was too shaken from the horrible thing that I just experienced. I stayed up the rest of the night watching TV with my cousins, with all the lights on, of course. When the sun finally came out, I was comfortable enough to tell her what happened. My cousin hadn't seen anything in the house yet, but her kids had. Their 7-year-old daughter had once told them that she had seen a white alien under her bed as well. This creeped me out a lot, and I didn't want to stay there anymore. I left their house after eating breakfast and went straight home. Ever since then, I have never gone back to their place. 2 years have passed. They tell me that their daughter still sees the white alien around. Thankfully, I have never seen it ever since I have left. I am currently attending a private college as a junior this year. There have been a few scary events that happened to me while living on campus, but I'm going to share only one encounter. Some background info: I work until 9 p.m. daily and get back to campus at around 9:30ish. Then I cook and clean and complete my homework prior to showering. I always shower around 1 to 2 a.m., but nothing like this has ever happened. I live on the 13th floor. Everyone on this floor shares the 8 toilets, 8 shower stalls, and 6 vanity sink tops mirroring each other. There are not very many Asian women, so most of the ladies on my floor are white or Caucasian. One night, during fall semester, I completed my homework and realized it was almost 3 a.m. There was a chapter I needed to review prior to class tomorrow, but then decided to go shower instead and wake up early to review the homework. I'm sort of a clean freak, so I shower every night regardless. So I got into the shower, and while I was shampooing and soaping my body, I heard the door open. Someone came in to use the bathroom and flushed the toilet. I heard them wash their hands, and The door slammed closed a few seconds later. Then, a few minutes later, while rinsing off the shampoo and soap from my body, the bathroom lights went off in a glance. I didn't hear the light switch off, and it was pitch black. Way in the last stall, I freaked out and quickly finished rinsing my hair. I turned off the water and reached for my towel. In dark silence, I quietly walked out of the stall and pulled the shower curtain to the side. I was pissed, thinking that someone probably pranked me. I walked into the aisle with my right hand reaching towards the front. I was so creeped out by the sound of dripping water that I felt like my soul left me. It reminded me of those horror movies, which I then imagined myself in. I passed the 4 shower stalls out into the open area where the sinks and doors were. As I kept reaching out, a billion of scary scenarios and thoughts popped into my mind. Hoping that I won't reach for some furry thing, I grabbed a hold onto the light switch and turned it on. I looked around quickly and there was no one there. This is when I found out that our bathroom had 4 different light switches, and in order to brighten the room, I needed to turn all 4 of them on. The one I switched on only turned on the lights that were above the sinks on the right. I quickly walked to the other side to turn on the lights on the left, then walked towards the wall by the showers to turn on those lights. I haven't seen anyone hiding so far. I then walked towards the wall adjacent to the toilet stalls dividing the sinks and the toilets and switched on that light. Now all the lights were on, so I decided to check the toilet stalls to see if anyone was hiding there. I opened the last toilet stall, hoping to see some girl jump out and laugh at me with a camera in her hand, but that didn't happen. Since I found no one, I dashed back to grab the rest of my clothes and things at my shower stall and ran out. I realized that it'd take more than one person to turn the lights off at the same time alone. From that day on, I never showered later than 11 p.m. Our bathroom lights never auto-shut off, and I found out that 2 other girls had similar encounters and they heard banging on the walls. Back then, in 2009, I used to work as a CNA in a senior home care. I was working graveyard shift, and this particular experience still gets me to this day. We have an elderly lady who we call Josie. During the day, she would be perfectly fine and nothing was wrong. At night, however, things would be a different story. We call those patients sundowner. One night, as I was making my usual rounds getting vitals to my section, I knocked and came into Josie's room. Josie had a roommate named Linda. Both of their beds are in the same room, but it's divided by a wall. So it's pretty much having their own semi-room to themselves. The bathroom was on Linda's side. I panicked and ran to check the restroom. Josie was inside the shower, crouched with her knees together. She was shaking and whispering things that I couldn't understand. I finally got another nurse to come and assist me, and after some time, she finally calmed down and went to sleep. This was happening at least twice a week, and we would ask her the next morning, but she doesn't remember anything. Her dementia had gotten worse and worse. She would be yelling that there was always someone following her and someone sleeping next to her. She eventually passed away a week later. 2 days later, I came back and did my usual round. I came into the room and I saw Linda sitting up. The crazy thing is that she was bedbound, a 2-person assist. She couldn't even sit up or turn. We had to use the Hoyer lift if we wanted to transfer her to the wheelchair. I see her peeking into the restroom. The door was wide open. She was giggling and saying, "I see you." All the hair on my body stood up. I quickly turned on the lights and walked to her and I asked her, "Who are you talking to, Linda?" She turned to look at me and smiled. "I see Josie sitting in the shower." At that time, I darted out of there as quickly as I could. I made sure another nurse came inside with me to help put her to bed. I never went back inside that room by myself, and I quit shortly after that. I never worked graveyard shift anymore too after that experience. My brother used to work for a company near Green Bay Road on the north side of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He had access to a huge fitness center for the employees. I remember it was Thanksgiving weekend. Now, for a typical Hmong person, our families don't feast until Saturday and Sunday. It was Thursday. We parked the car outside and went into the gym to play basketball. The gym was about 5,000 square feet and about 3 stories tall. It was a humongous gym. Since it was only the two of us, we used half of the basketball court. The other half was blocked off by a blue curtain. We were shooting around and all of a sudden, the lights turned off and the other half of the court's light turned on. I told my brother, well, maybe the building has motion sensors. We went back to the side and turned the lights back on to the whole gym. After about 15 minutes, the lights on the other half turned off. I played it cool, like, yeah, it was the motion sensor. I told my brother to chill and to not freak out. I ran really loud to the other side, but the lights never turned on. We started to freak out. All of a sudden, my phone rang. We both jumped, but it was just my cousin. He was coming to play ball with us. Nothing happened for the next 10 minutes. When my cousin arrived, we kept playing basketball. After about one game of hustle, my brother won and was talking crap to me and my cousin. This was when we heard a high-powered cleaning machine turn on. It was moving and cleaning the floor really slowly. I told my brother, oh, that's why the light turned on and off, because someone is here cleaning the floors. I'm gonna go check who it is. I stopped and thought to myself, why the hell would someone be cleaning the floor on the other side of the basketball court when it's pitch black? I went to the other side to check. Nothing. Not even the high-power cleaning machine. It was pitch black, no noise. I didn't hear the machine turn off. I told my brother it had to be the cleaning guy. He answered, dude, it's Thanksgiving weekend. There's no one here working. I walked back to the side that we were on, and we all looked at each other with goosebumps. Suddenly, the cleaning machine started back up, moving really slow. I dropped down the basketball. I told my brother and cousin that we should go outside to smoke, get some water, and leave the basketball. We would come back to grab it. Well, truth is, we never came back. We got into our cars and took off home. My brother quit his job after Thanksgiving and never went back. I know we didn't see anything, but it was a freaky experience. Okay, so just a quick backstory. My family is very fond of encountering ghosts, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was passed down to me. However, with me, it's scary for me because I'm only 16, and I was fond of it because it wasn't that bad. Obviously, as I got older, it just got worse. I often hear and dream about things that aren't normal, but I didn't tell anybody about these occurrences because I like to think that it's nothing serious. Eventually, I gave in and told my grandma from Minnesota. She took it very seriously and gave me a bunch of shaman-like things wrapped in red and even a red bag with those red and white strings to keep on. She took it really seriously, but I remember just laughing it off. When I came back home from Minnesota, I remembered setting the things up on my bed. I stopped having bad dreams and so on, but this one day, the necklace was hurting my neck very badly. I decided to take it off before bed. I remembered my grandparents from my stepdad's side of the family came and swept the house and cleansed it. They even had the joss paper to keep the ghost out. That night, I had the worst nightmare ever. I had a dream that my friend was telling me about one of her boyfriend's dead aunt. She said her name and told me specifically not to tell anyone this story or she'd come for me, but I obviously didn't believe her. I told my mom about it and just kind of laughed about it. But when I told her, I knew I messed up because the tension got eerie and I started feeling paranoid, like someone was watching me. I told my mom how I was feeling and we immediately went to my grandparents in Minnesota. It was strange because Before I could even tell my grandma, she already sensed something was wrong and told me to go see a shaman. She came back an hour later and told me that it was my fault, and that I was to not tell anyone about the dead lady. It threw me off because my grandma said her name so perfectly, and that sent chills down my spine. My parents and I left shortly after that, and for some reason, the roads were dead silent, no traffic. But of course it's my dream, so I teleported back to my house. The house had a scary hallway, and I felt as if someone or something was going to come around the corner. Something that wasn't human. I panicked and called my parents to get home, and they rushed home, but the thing was close to turning the corner until my parents entered through the door with a male shaman. The shaman came up and told me, "I'm going to crack these 3 eggs and see what's going on." He cracked one and it was full of blood. He cracked the second one and it was also full of blood. And then he cracked the third one, and this time it was filled with black ooze. He shook his head and told me, "The lady is very mad at you and is done being patient. She is going to come to you." At this point, I was deeply afraid, and I felt like the tension got worse. I thought something was going to happen since I couldn't wake up. But luckily, my boyfriend's alarm went off and I woke up. Ever since that dream, I never took off my necklace again. My mom thinks that I might be a shaman, but I don't know. This is an old story that happened a long time ago, back in Laos. This was a story that happened to my aunt, my mom's sister. My aunt Mai was the eldest unwed girl in her village at the age of 17. So she was the mother figure to a lot of the children in the neighborhood. There was a young boy at the age of 6 that Mai took care of day in and day out because his parents were constantly arguing and violence was involved. Divorce is considered to be a disgrace, and one would rather die than have a divorce back then. One night, the little boy ended up at Mai's front door, shivering. Mai took him in and warmed the boy up. The boy said that his parents were arguing all night. Then it was silent and he noticed that he was home alone. Now these were not your regular insulated homes. The homes back then were just thatch huts made of bamboo and pieces of wood. The entire village must have heard them arguing that night, but ignored it. Morning came and the boy's parents still did not come to claim the boy. Mai took the boy next door to his house and knocked on the door, yet no one opened. Night came and Mai heard voices coming from the little boy's house. So she took the boy and went next door. She kicked the door open and, to her surprise, she saw another woman in the arms of the boy's father. Mai apologized for intruding but explained the reason why she was there, to bring his son home. Days turned into weeks. No one in the village heard or seen of the boy's mother since that night. The mother's parents came to the house demanding to speak with their daughter, but the boy's father said that she left with another man. The village knew the mother was not the type to do such a thing, and gossips filled the community that he murdered her, but there wasn't enough evidence to prove it. The father went around with his new bride, leaving only his son to Mai to take care of. The boy was not sad, did not mention he missed his mother, nor did he shed a tear for her. Mai got concerned. One morning, Mai went to go pick up the boy from his house. The boy came out of the house, waved in the direction of his father who wasn't looking at him, and then he came out of the house with a smile. Mai asked the little boy what he was so happy about. He said that his mother is taking him away from here. Mai was confused. She asked him, "Where is your mother?" The little boy replied, "Dad loves her a lot now. Every day he carries her on his back." Mai's mouth dropped. The boy said, "Just look at them. Aren't they happy?" as he looked into the house towards his father. Mai looked inside. She only saw the father's back turned facing them with his new wife cooking. No sign of the mother. My aunt said that a week after, the little boy mysteriously passed away. Some said that it was due to an illness that he contracted, and since they lived in the rural countryside, nothing could save him. My aunt, however, thinks differently. She said that it was his mother who came to get him away from his horrible father, and that's why he passed away. I feel like I've heard this story before. There's something out there on my channel somewhere similar to this, but it was pretty good. Thank you for listening.